Hi, this is Mr. West, Rossit's Most Stylish, and today I'm going to be going through the targets that I've set you on the social impact of the Black Death answer that you've done on Google Classroom. So let's have a look. Obviously, don't watch the whole video, just watch the bit that relates to your target. Okay, so for this one, explain why the freemen gained more land and money. Now, I read a lot of these. People told me that the freemen got more land and money, but not why. And I think the key thing to think about here is if you look at this little scene on the side here, you can see that actually it's about the idea that now has less freemen, okay? So you see I can earn high wages working on Sir Robert's land, okay, there, okay? And you use the money to buy land, all right? So you can see that now the freemen are going to have to earn more wages. And the reason why is it's about supply and demand. Suddenly there's a lot less people, okay? And the lords need people to work, so they're prepared to pay higher wages than before. When something becomes rarer, that's the key phrase, isn't it? When something becomes rarer, it becomes more expensive. There are less people, about 40% of the people died in Alton, so that means that there are less people. So now you have to explain why. You have to say, well, the reason is the rarity of the workforce, okay? There are not as many freemen, so now they can earn much more, they can get more land because there's not enough, and they can earn more money. In terms of the land, obviously a lot of the land now has no one to farm it. 40% of people have died, so if you think that'd be 40% of the land, give or take, that is now available. And obviously some of that land will be Villain's land, and the Lord will keep that. But if you think that 40% of the freemen have died, suddenly 40% of the freemen's land is now available, okay? And that land has no one to farm it. So that's why the freemen can gain more land. And also, it's about the rarity of the workforce. Okay, so for this target, they explain why the Black Death changed the perspective of the Villains. Okay, and if you think about the Villains that have survived, what the main issue that they're saying is we need our freedom, and we need to think about this. Now, they were hopeful before because they were all on the same wage, and actually the freemen wages were getting cut, weren't they, because there were so many of them. So even though the Villains didn't get paid, their perspective wasn't as bad, because the freemen weren't actually, some of them were actually not that much better off than Villains. But now there's so few people, that's the key element, okay? Now there's so few people, labour, the idea that people can work, is rarer. So the Lord has to pay more for the labour he wants. So that means that the freemen are now able to do an awful lot better, okay, because of the Black Death. They can earn an awful lot more, and that has changed the perspective of the Villains. Whereas before the Black Death, they were happy, although they didn't get paid, they got land from the Lord, and they were able to work it, and it was a good harvest. That's still the same. That hasn't changed, but the ability of the freemen to earn much higher wages has, and that's changed the perspective of the freemen. And now they're no longer hopeful because they can see how much better the freemen are doing. Whereas before the Black Death, the freemen weren't doing that much better, were they? Okay, so why did the Villains not having control of their lives? Why is that a bigger issue after the Black Death? Well, I've put this picture on here, but I could easily have picked the picture of Richard Carter. Remember, the Villains don't have control of their lives. Before the Black Death, when there was lots of people, the Lord was happy for Richard Carter to go to school and potentially to better himself. Now, that was a rare story, but he was happy for that to happen. But obviously, after the Black Death, there's not enough people now, so he's no longer happy to lose Richard to school, okay, and he has to work in the fields, all right? And the issue now is that because the freemen are doing an awful lot better, that has then, as I say, put into perspective the Villains' position, okay? Before, they didn't have control of their lives, but they felt that that didn't really matter as much. They were doing well. There was a lot of them, so the Lord was prepared to free some of the Villains. He allowed Matilda Legg and John Newton to get married and move away from the village. So the Villains weren't as chained to the land before the Black Death because there were so many people. The Lord was happy for certain people to move about, okay, and to give them essentially a bit of freedom. But obviously after the Black Death, he hasn't got enough workers. So now what he wants to do is to ensure that he keeps the workers he has. He won't let them leave, so that's an issue. And obviously, as I said before in the previous one, the perspective of the Villains has changed now because the freemen are doing so much better. Yeah, as it says over here. Yeah, what about us villeins, John. We get no benefit. What we need is our freedom. So before, not having your freedom was obviously an issue. Let's not deny it. But it's become a bigger issue. It's become more acute since the Black Death because they've seen what the freemen can now achieve. Okay, and the last target is to talk about why life didn't really change for the peasants. So when I say peasants here, I mean freemen and villeins, okay? We've talked about the big social impact that the Black Death had in essentially reversing the roles of the freemen and villeins. But what hasn't really changed, and I picked this picture of Richard Carter here, I could have picked any of them, they're still mainly farmers. Even the freemen who can earn higher wages still require the Lord's approval for a lot of things. The villeins are still not free and they're still working. If you think about it, a freeman might be a bit better paid, but they're still working on the land, okay? And they're still farming essentially, all right? And the villeins, they're still working for 3 or 4 days a week for the Lord, for their small piece of land, and then able to farm it for another 1 or 2 days in the week. So the rhythm of life hasn't really changed for the freemen villeins. They're still at the bottom, and their position hasn't really altered, has it? Okay, and we're going to be looking at this more when we look at the Peasants' Revolt, which is in our next topic. The fact that actually the life for the freemen and the villeins hasn't really changed. They're still farming, and the village still looks the same. There are less people there, but the vast majority of people are still having to work very, very hard for the benefit of someone else. Obviously, the freemen get some of the benefit themselves, but they still have to work occasionally for the Lord, and the villeins are still having to work 3 or 4 days a week for the benefit of the Lord and not for themselves.